So welcome to this week's video. We're back out and about. We've come up to the coast. Now, when we set off today, it was grey, it was flat, it was miserable. And I think after the Christmas break, not getting out with the camera, your sort of motivation's a bit low. But we really wanted to come out today and take some images. So I've come up today with absolutely zero expectations of what we might achieve. We've come back to Port Sawyam. The last time we was here, the waves were just insane. It's going to be low tide for sunset, but we've just spent an hour walking around this little harbour here with a bit of an open mind, really, of what images you can actually achieve when maybe the conditions aren't how you want them to be in the sky and also with the tide. And I've been experimenting again with ICM. There's a couple of little boats, little fishing boats in the harbour, and at points like we're catching them quite nicely. We had a couple of people walking along this wall out against the harbour and just really looking at things really differently today, which I've enjoyed, to be fair. There's a harbour wall with some real nice rust colours running down it, with some cracks and a little life ring, which again I wouldn't normally take images of, but it caught my eye, and with that open mind today because of the conditions, I think I've taken images of things that I wouldn't usually. So I don't know about you guys, what your motivation levels are like, but probably eating and drinking a bit too much over Christmas, motivation quite low, but wanting to get back out, and you look out and you think, it doesn't look great. But as I say, coming up today and just seeing things a little bit differently, having a go again with the ICM, I've thoroughly enjoyed doing. We're probably now around half an hour away from sunset, and in front of us the sky is quite moody. There's colour in it, but shooting that way we've got all of the houses here and all the little shops and whatnot that are just situated on this harbour. So we've just really come to the edge of the harbour wall, just have a look for some interest really to see what's going on behind here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those images up that we've taken around this little harbour and talk you through some of them and what caught my eye with the images, the detail, the colours maybe, and a little bit more about that ICM. On the back of the camera, some of them almost look a bit like a painting, and that's always the effect that I want to achieve with ICM. So yeah, I'll put those up and I'll chat you through them. ICM is intentional camera movement, and it's the process of moving the camera whilst the shutter is open to create something unique. You can see from this video clip here that had I have just taken an image of the boat as standard, it would have been pretty difficult for one, because the boat itself was moving, and I think it probably would have given me quite a boring shot. What I like about this image is the swirls, the twirls, the painterly effect that it produces, and whilst I've increased the saturation, I think it complements the image. I brought out the reds, the blues and the greens within that to try and make the image pop. I think it works, but let me know what you think. For these first few images, I used f22 and ISO 50 to give me a slow enough shutter speed. You can also use filters to achieve the same effect. So I took a shot over the harbour wall, and there was some rays on the horizon, some dark rays, and I'm hoping that the camera's managed to pick those up. Just a real simple shot, nothing fancy, 30-second exposure, but it was more to try and capture those rays. Now, what we're trying to do is make our way over there where there's a little bit more colour and a bit more interest, but I keep getting distracted and stopping off. So I've taken a shot through the railings where we had a little bit of the harbour wall and some interesting rocks in the foreground. And again, I've just stopped here because this little distillery across the way here is reflecting ever so slightly just in the water, and there's little bits of seaweed and various things going on. So I've just done a 1 minute exposure just to try and capture that. We are losing a little bit of that colour, so I'm keen to try and get round there just to see if there is anything else that we can take. But yeah, I think today's video really is just to try and get the creativity back, that motivation. You know, that love for photography never goes away, but sometimes you can just feel a bit like a little bit, I don't know, you just need to get that enthusiasm for getting back out and seeing things, I suppose, after a couple of weeks break. So we're going to take a walk and let's see what we can find. Okay, so we've made it up to the top. I think the best of the colour has faded whilst we were being distracted down on the harbour there. But I have really enjoyed that hour spent just bimbling around and taking images of things that I wouldn't ordinarily. Now, what I've done on this shot that I'm just focusing on here is I've just picked out a simple shot again. Group of rocks just out into the sea. We've got some nice cloud, some nice blue tones with a little hint of pink, and I've just framed it up using rule of thirds. So I've tried to get the rocks in the bottom third and the sky in the top 2/3. I took a shot initially at 25 seconds and thought, wow, I really like that. It looks really simple, quite a classic, nice little shot. So I'm experimenting now, and I've put the 6-stop in and I'm doing a 2.5 minute exposure just to see if we can blur those clouds anymore. There is a gap on the horizon between the sea and where the clouds are, so we're still going to get that banding, if you like, but just to see if we can get a bit more movement in those clouds, just to give it a bit more of a softer feel, a bit more of an ethereal feel. What I might do is try a landscape shot of the same composition, and what I might do is use these rocks here. So there's some yellow algae that's just growing on them with these lines and textures, which may or may not complicate the scene. So I'll have a look and see what's going on. But I think I might just try and focus a little bit on some abstract shots as well and see what we can get together. Okay, so the landscape orientation is working quite well as well. And what I've done on this shot is I've just placed this cluster of rocks off to the right. There's a seagull landed on the rocks at the moment, and I'm just hoping it keeps still because I'm currently doing a 10-second exposure. But what I've incorporated on this shot is just this outcrop of headland just creeping in on the right, on the left-hand side of the frame. The sky's looking quite blue, but we've just got this hint, this patch of pink cloud, and the tide is actually coming in quite choppy around those rocks, creating that white texture. And on a 10-second exposure, if you can just get it right, there's some rocks sort of underneath the water, and as the tide's coming in, it's swirling around, and we are getting a little bit of patchy white around the rocks. It's very simple. I would probably say it's quite a minimal shot. But again, as I say, it's just looking for something different to take an image of. You know, I love the crashing waves against the rocks, the wildness of the coast. But when it's quite calm and subdued, you can also get some real nice images. It's just looking for them or opening your mind, which I think we've done today with different types of shots and seeing things a little bit differently. So I'm going to try one last shot here, just using this rock maybe as a leading line with this colour in, leading out just before that colour in the sky goes. We'll see what that gives us, and I'll pop those images up for you.
So at the start of the day's photography, I was feeling quite uninspired, but by going out in unfavourable conditions and opening our minds to different possibilities and opportunities with the photography, I felt more remotivated. The very next day we went back out to a beach that doesn't have a lot of interest really, except for these beach huts and a few little features on the shoreline. But again, by using intentional camera movement and taking some ordinary images, I felt more motivated and a lot more positive about the photographs that I was taking.
A little birdie tells us, Boom Sue, that this is your happy place. If you've got a favourite image from the video today, if you let us know, we'll get you one printed and get it over to you.
So hope you've enjoyed our first video of 2023. It's been really nice to come back out, hasn't it?
Lovely, lovely.
It feels like we've had maybe, I don't know, it's probably longer than 2-week break, isn't it? Because the last couple of videos that we've done were around the top 6 videos and the top 20 images with the print giveaway. So it feels like it's been ages since we've been back out with the camera, and it's just been nice. I mean, it's going dark now, so I think really the best of the light, the best of the colour's gone, but it's been nice to try something a little bit different at the coast. Don't know whether you guys will enjoy what we've done today and maybe different images, but I think that creativeness and that seeing things differently does help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because you've had a little bash as well, have you?
With dabble myself, yeah.
With the photography, and it just is really, I think, opened up a whole different way of seeing, which I think is probably a good start to 2023.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let us know what you think, whether you enjoy the images or not, and we'll be back out and about next week, won't we? We've got a trip already planned in the van towards the end of the month.
Whoop, whoop.
So a nice long weekend, can't wait for that. But yeah, that's it really for this week. Hope you've enjoyed it. Take care. We'll see you next week. Adios!